Okay, hi, Paul again, and featuring another episode of Plusma-cast. And today I have another friend of mine, which is Khairul Anwar.
Hello.
He is a professional consultant in design thinking here in Malaysia. And I met him a few years ago when both of us went through an available design thinking course, just at separate times. And as alumni, we got in touch. So the interesting part that I'm featuring Anwar here, my friend Khairul Anwar here, is about not just design thinking as an activity for generating information, but also taking it to the professional level.
Right.
Okay, so thank you very much, Khairul.
Pleasure, Paul.
Okay, so like we begin in Plusma-cast, typically it's the earliest times when you got the idea.
Right.
Okay, so for some of our guests, it's not, for some of our guests, they were expressing creativity, but it wasn't until much later where I guess they came back and things took off. So what's your story?
Right. Thanks, Paul. I personally got interested in innovation when I was working. I used to work in number of industry. I like the idea that the innovation that I see last time is to solve a particular problem. So there's a time in early 2000 when I was working. I like to take or borrow my boss's magazine, and I will cut stories on innovation. I keep it, and whenever I have meetings or I was waiting for a client, I will take out the paper cut and I will read, and that grew my interest.
Right.
And then I started working with in sales environment. So we were given targets, we were given clients. Then I realized that to achieve those targets, I need to do it innovatively. I cannot just see how my senior doing it. I have to do it innovatively. Then that was my so-called beginning of to realize that innovation is not just about product and services. It's about creating new value, either for yourself or for your customers. So that's how I started at that time I was just a sales executive. That's how I started.
Right. Was it a pain point that kind of triggered your curiosity, or was it just maybe we can do this better, or you were just like as you said, cutting up ideas and figure out how did they do it?
Right. I think it's more a pain point. The thing about innovation, as we know now, it must have a pain point. The pain point will give you the inspiration to know that there is something that you need to solve. If there's no clear pain point, you won't be able to drive yourself to sort of solve it. So for me at that time, the pain point was, as a sales executive, you don't earn much. You were given...
it's always the commissions.
Yeah. So that was my pain point personally, right? So I was given like 300 ringgit a month, then the rest all by commission. That was a major pain point for me, right? Lucky, fortunately, at that time I was still single. So then I realized that even this pain point reflected in my seniors, right? They also earn through commissions. But then I realized that with the commission they took back, it's still not enough, or rather, to them they could do more. That was my pain point. So I thought maybe there is something that I could do differently to get that new value. Of course, more commissions. So that's what I did. So on that reason why I cut, because I realized when I am more updated about the news or the current issues, I can have a better conversation with my client.
Right.
And as a result of that, I am perceived as someone current and professional sales person, right? Because at that time, a salesperson is deemed as someone who is not knowledgeable, you're just pushing your products.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, that's still the perception.
Right. And you cut on price. So I thought if I want to project that professionalism, I need to be knowledgeable, even though this is not really my job. Because I know the pain point with the client is they don't want to be sold by another salesman. So in that aspect, I try to solve my own personal pain point, the commission, and on the customer side is they want to be seen as buying products that they need, not that they have been sold to by someone, right? So that was the way I see things at that time.
Yeah, I mean that was the starting point. Okay, so then how did you, how did you take it further?
Right. I was very lucky. I had the opportunity to read some books promoted or rather like introduced by my ex-boss. He's a good reader. So he gave me a number of books to read, and he also suggested me to buy some good magazines, like from Harvard Business Review, McKinsey. And I still remember there's one book, one magazine I bought last time was Sloan Management. Right?
Sloan Management.
Sloan Management. Right?
Oh, Sloan.
Right? And it was a foreign imported magazine. It cost me 90 ringgit. That was my first time I saw design thinking, to be honest. I still keep that copy back in 2009. It says, how could you make queue feels shorter? Oh, that's interesting, right? Queue is always long and always painful. So the title captured my attention, and that's why I bought that magazine, and I realized this thing called design thinking, something that I do professionally now. So over the years, of course, I admired design thinking as a tool until I think 2012 or 2012, I think 2013, where there was a local chapter here called Genovasi, together partnering with Stanford University, run the design thinking course.
Yeah.
Right. I was very lucky because that course was on application. Right? So I applied. I was working somewhere else at the time, and I got in the program. Right? So that was I would say, my professional training on design thinking. Right? So on top of whatever I read, I get to have I think it was 10 to 12 weeks program with some assignments to be filled up almost every weekend. It was a weekend class.
Yeah.
That is where we met. What was it?
We did the same program.
Right.
But we met much later.
Right, in the alumni.
Yeah, in the alumni activities.
Right. So that was my professional program on design thinking, and I realized, wow, there is such a thing that you can learn to be innovative. In other words, innovation skills is teachable from someone. So that was actually my next level of getting a more structured program, being taught how to innovate. I always like this example that a 2-year-old kid, you don't need to teach a 2-year-old kid to run; they just run.
Okay.
Right? That to me is like creativity. Most of us are born with intrinsic creativity. However, to innovate, it's like you are planning to go for a full marathon. If you don't train yourself, you're not going to make it, right? So if you plan to go to innovation at scale or doing it professionally, you got to have some training, right? So that's how I see it, Paul.
I mean, okay. Would you? So, I've been through the program. You've been through the program.
Right.
But for the audience and for the purpose of this show, would you mind describing some of the processes of? So, what is design thinking?
Right. Right.
You've described it as a way of innovation.
Right.
But could you go into detail?
Sure. Design thinking as a methodology or approach, it is an innovation tool. Right? There are many other innovation tools out there. It's like De Bono, Blue Ocean. Those days they call it the Porter 5 Forces. The thing is, one thing that makes design thinking different is the element of positive psychology, right? There's a lot of element of positive psychology, a lot of element of appreciative inquiry, a lot of element of questioning. There is very needed in organization, particularly current organization, because we have a multi-generational workforce.
Right.
And on top of that, the reason why design thinking is relevant now, because there are a lot more questions to be asked instead of answers that we have today. So the thing that I learned back then was design thinking method from Stanford D School. It's considered a 5-step approaches. You start with a first step called empathy, a space called empathy where we try to understand the users from observing them, from talking to them, listen to their problems, listen to their pain points, and or could be we immerse in their shoes. For example, if you want to understand how it feels to apply a new loan as a bank officer, you go to another branch of yourself, make yourself as a mystery guy, and apply the loan right there and then, right? That's where like you get to know how the normal clients face it when they are applying loans, right? So that's what we call when you immerse in the process. So that's what we call the empathy. And the second part is define. There's a certain tool we learn where you can put the customer or the respondent into a particular context to understand them a little bit more. And then you ideate. One thing that I like about design thinking in the ideation step, where we put a lot of emphasis on the wild and radical idea, right? You got to think wild and wide. You don't just think what you think it's feasible. At the ideation, we like you to think wild and wide. And then we have this part what we call prototyping, right? So you get the people to prototype, make do with things around them. You don't have to just to prototype, because the word prototype, if you go to certain industry, they say, oh, you got to make something close to the actual ideas. Like you build a prototype car, you got to make an actual car, but it's called prototype. In design thinking, at least at the first level, you build, let's say, the car using pen and paper or cardboard or something recyclable. And then you test. Test means you go down, talk to people and test the idea, right? The usability, the functionality, not the ultimate complete idea, rather as the main assumption that you would like to test, right? So that's basically the 5 steps: empathize, define, ideate, prototype, test. EDIPT, that's how I put it.
Yeah. So it's a framework, as you say, to innovate, and the process to innovate is understanding what could be an issue, what could be a challenge, what could be a pain point, and through the eyes of a person experiencing these challenges.
True.
And from there, having understood it, then we build an idea.
Right.
We define and we build an idea
right.
from it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay. And so, what were some of the interesting points of this program in your personal experience?
Do you mean during the professional training or during my work?
Professional training first.
Right. So the distinct part about the program that I went, it gave me a realization that a lot of us equate innovation with technology.
Yeah.
In fact, that's how I thought last time. I don't think myself as innovative because I'm not an IT geek, right? And I may not be an engineer, right? That's the reason why I think I'm not innovative. To some extent, I think some people feel that they are not innovative, therefore they are not creative. I think that's a misnomer. It's not a correct understanding. Most of us are creative. However, to be innovative, you got to go to some training at scale. Yeah. So that's one realization, that we tend to equate innovation with technology, which is fair, just that that's not enough, right? Because innovation is not a department, right? Housed or manned by engineers or technologies. Innovation today is pervasive. Anyone in the service innovation, at the counter, even online, can be innovative if they solve customers' problem. So that's the highlight number 2, where innovation today is pervasive. It's everywhere. We are talking about even jeans. They try to innovate jeans. They go down and talk to people and ask them how do they wear their jeans. And one of the interesting insight was, which I still remember until today, that most people don't wash their jeans often. That's interesting insights, right? And we wouldn't know that unless we talk to the customers, we observe what they do. And whenever I share that example, a lot of people say, oh yeah, no, you're right, I didn't really wash my jeans often. And then I say, why? Because it feels more comfortable as I wear them for the next 1 to 2 weeks, right? So this kind of thing that to design thinking is what we call innovation, is what we call insights and opportunities. And that particular experiment somehow or rather led this particular jeans provider to come out with the jeans, what they call pre-washed jeans, right? Based on the insight. So that's how powerful it is to observe, to understand what your customers are facing through, right? So point number 3, what I realized is during that session is there is such a structured way to innovate. There is such a structured way to harness one's creativity. Because another belief of creativity is it comes like a flash of idea. A moment where you need to sit on the mountain or you need to sit in front of something during the rain, then there's a flash of ideas, right? I think that's wrong. It could be one small type of it, because normally you get your ideas during your shower or on a long driving. So, but at the same time, creativity and innovation can be harvested with some structured process. So those are the 3 things that I think stand out on my face when I went through that training.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'll relate my experiences. One is that I graduated as an architect, and it was a bit of a challenge because on the one hand, that our lecturers were teaching us, go for the wild, go for the interesting, just look, it's free to experiment. But when we came out to work, it was an environment that we were designing for we were designing for, in the end users.
Right.
But the process was very remote from the people that we were supposed to be designing for. So it was a very top-down approach. So I felt a little, you say disconnected like that. Okay, so how do we build for people that we're not exactly talking to?
Right.
Yeah, that was that was my experience from going through this program, or design thinking program.
Right.
And another experience was actually, this relates to the next question, that now that we have this tool and framework for design thinking, which which opens our eyes to opportunities. Okay, how can we help? The question is that I went back into corporate, but it was a little difficult to execute. Whereas you went into, where you opened up your own program, DT leadership. So how did you come to the decision that perhaps do I do it on my own to train others, or do I go back to a corporate and work it internally? How do you make that decision?
Right. The decision making was quite easy actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I take the plunge because at that time I've really got nothing to lose. After the training that we went to last time, actually I went back. By the time I was still working, so I wanted to sort of share it with my organization that I was attached to. However, at the time, when we work with someone or organization, there's always other competing priorities, that come in the way of what you want to do. And at the time, design thinking is fairly new, 2012, 2013, and people fear new things, right? We rather find comfort with something that we've heard before.
Do you think it's fear, or do you just think that it's so new we are not sure? They don't understand and not sure what to do with it yet.
That could be another reason, but I personally think it's fear because there was already other so-called approaches, and if we were to introduce these new approaches, there's a need some change, right? So that change is something that people have fear about, because what if we don't make it? What if the one that you introduce is not as good as what we have today, right? What if we have the thing about change? Sometimes you have to let go of certain things. What if we need to let go of certain things that we like? So to me at that time there's more fear. So I think that for a tool such as robust design thinking, the question that came to my mind, why not I go out there and spread it around, right? Because my vehicle last time was limited. Of course, with more resources, with my previous what you call a vehicle or company will be better for impact. But again, like you say, the objective of the outcome is still unrealized yet. Why don't I go out with little that I have? I had some savings, although I was still try to nurse my wounds from my previous venture in startup. I realized that okay, why not? I just take out some savings, go on 3 months, then go on 6 months. Now the first 3 months, I can tell you honestly, there was nothing. Right? There was nothing. And I mean, people call and people would like to find out, but not much. And after all, at the time, during that session, during that 3 months moment, I carry other programs as well. There was some presentation skills, leadership, including design thinking, among others. People still want to know the old stuff. When the design thinking say, oh no, we don't know what it is, I don't think we want this, right? No matter how much I try to explain to them, there was no need at the time. The 6 months after that, there was opportunity, a small gig. It was only, I think it was a 1-day staff, more on me trying to squeeze in, from my client, the time that can they spend the time. And that was my first break opportunity, to really go on the different settings, with the client, because with the client is different. You go through as a trainee, and you to go out as a coach or as a trainer is different.
Yeah.
Right? So, and after all, the program that we went through was a 10-12 weeks program, and the client had only a day. So there was the part, my own judgment, creativity, to make sure that the client, after they leave the program, they take away something. So coming back to your question, I just take a plunge, not much to lose, and try for the next 6 months, wherever I have. And I told myself, if after 6 months, I really have nothing, not even a traction, I'm going to just cut my loss and go back to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, again, you were brave enough to do that, I think. And that's the thing about most people getting into enterprises. Do we, can we or should we? And I guess I have to congratulate you on that.
Thank you, Bob.
Okay. So that first client, obviously there's a feeling that you broke through. And can you describe a bit about that first goal?
Right. About the client, you mean?
Maybe the client, or maybe the service you provided.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we did a 1-day what you call introduction to
Yep.
design thinking. It was to school teachers, right? So they are school teachers of boarding school. So the thing about teachers, they are into learning, right? They really want to learn. And some teachers have heard about design thinking for teachers, for educators, right? Which is also another popular theme at the time, even until today. So I went there, we discussed, they are secondary school teachers, there were about, I think, 30 of them. And apparently half of them were innovation teachers at the boarding school. So there was matching there, they are teachers, they love learning, and they do innovation, right? So they teach their students on innovation. So we shared, so we went through the program. It was a day, although it was a day, they realized that the innovation is now going into another era where, what I explained just now, innovation is not only for technologies. Teachers can innovate too, students can innovate as well. They also realize that the scope of innovation that they teach, or rather suggest to the student, can go beyond engineering, right? Because at the time, student project innovation, it's either science or engineering, only these two, right? And the moment they learn about design thinking, they realize, oh, we can do also for textile, we can do also for some experience, we can do also for business model. At the time, there's another concept of business model canvas, or we can combine these two to generate new ideas. So that feeling, observing them, is really empowering, because although I only share for 1 day the design thinking, but the teachers went back with this new, what I call perspective, a new inspiration that they can do more for the students, right? So observing that made me feel like I just get a boost, myself that hey, maybe I should do more. Maybe I should do more in terms of the industry I serve. So this is where later I started to go more to the corporate sector, because corporate sector have this belief that innovation is for IT department.
It's a department.
Right, it's a department. Innovation is for the engineering. If we go to manufacturing innovation, or product development is scientists. So the rest of the company, can you imagine in a 3,000 workforce organization, innovation is laid on this hand or maybe 10 or 20 people in that one department. How could it be possible, right? So that was my experience during that first moment with the clients. Paul.
I mean, like, sometimes it works, that's why it still happens. But again, what perhaps, is it fair to say that your mission is not to just empower 10 people, but it's in that organization, but to find a way to help empower 3,000. It's everybody.
Right. Yeah, definitely. That definitely something that we're working on right now since like 5 years ago, because we realized that people have the capacity to innovate.
Yeah.
People have people want to innovate. The thing is, they don't know how. How do we innovate, right? Just like I said, running just now, you don't need to teach a 2-year-old to run. However, for you to run full marathon, they got to have some training or some exposure.
Yeah.
So this is what we do in our business right now, is to give that a lot of more companies to be able to do that full marathon innovation. Yes.
Here's the thing I want to also get you to perhaps answer for the audience is that
Right.
I'm a graduate architect, so I'm from a field of already very formalized design stream. Okay, and when we say design thinking, you and I both know the answer. But can you just highlight? Okay, so innovation and opportunity and empowering so many people. How is it so involved, or how do the ideas come about? Like I said, in contrast versus what I did was architecture, a very formalized outcome.
Right. Okay. That's actually a good question, Paul. The thing is, after we do this program for the last few years, we realized that a lot of people always wanting to make some change. Right? There's always problems they want solved, either personal or professional, or they are in their workplace. That's how we position our program. The thing that you learn today is not only for your work, also for your personal. Because sometimes we get participants that going to be retiree in 2 years' time, and he was selected to attend an innovation program, design thinking, right? So, and most of the time, this group of veterans, they've attended a lot of programs, training. To them, this is just another training.
Yeah, just another one.
Yeah, and I've been forced to come here. So make your presentation very fast. I want to go for breaks. The next 2 days or 3 days, I'm out on my way from this room. So to not tell them that, come on, this thing that you're learning may not be good for you. It may be useful even for your children. Then they make them interested. Oh, okay. I have teenagers at home, or someone is starting out in the workforce. I think they are not creative or innovative enough. Maybe I can teach them. Right. So I realized that is where my goal is not as a trainer or coach. I am actually, and my colleagues, we are the touch points. Like a long stretch, a string. This is where you were born. This is where we die. So I am a touch point somewhere, whatever journey they go through. So we are the touch points. As a touch point, our goal is not to become the end or the final product. We are the dots that connect another dot. So seeing ourselves that way, this is where we realize that the design thinking that we carry, other than just for innovation in the company, is also for the person. Can you imagine a person who have gone through a lot of work experience, have gone through a lot of problems that they want to solve, but they won't be able to do it because they believe they don't have the skills. So with design thinking as a skill, as a tool, and we as the dot building that bridge from this dot to the other, we actually will make sure that they are able to at least try the tool and see for themselves how this tool can be empowering. No doubt, like you say earlier on, if possible, we would like to empower the 3,000 people. But the thing is, you can't really force the change to 3,000 people. Even when we sit down with top management, we in fact recommend them, can you list down 10 to 15% of people that you see in this company that's willing to make real change? Only 15%. If you are lucky if you can get that.
Okay.
In company like GE or Honeywell or what you call Boeing, if you get 5 or 10%, you are good enough. You can make very big change in the company. So the goal for people like us, we are the touch point, and as much as we can, we would like to share them what is significant for them they can look into. However, the case for change has to come from themselves. Right? That is for personal. For the organization, the goal is not to make sure these 30 people change or 3,000 people change. The goal at least to disseminate the information first, create a touch point first, so that people can decide, oh, I want to move the other side. I can take design thinking as the touch point to go the other side. The challenge is sometimes organizations do not want to create or make themselves available with the touch point. They just want people to make that jump. So of course, when you make the jump, not everyone willing to jump, not everyone can jump, and many people who try, they fall. This is where, like, there's a concept where a lot of good ideas fall in the chasm. There's somewhere in the middle. Right? There's no touch point. So that's how I see design thinking and how we see ourselves empowering others by creating that little touch point to go on the other side.
So it's more about, in your case, as the external, the external party encouraging this activity,
right?
It's more about how do I jumpstart an innovation process for you,
right,
to create value,
right?
And I guess you could say take it or leave it, or I'm just doing my best at, to help the process along, right?
Right.
Is that fair?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. So, how? If you don't mind, I ask a bit more about the industry that you in your outfit, you're doing this on a consulting basis,
right?
And what I observe is that there's also other groups trying to to encourage, whether it's by training or whether it's by short programs or whether it's by consultation. How do you see the field of design thinking as applied professionally, or how do you see it sort of moving forward in terms of spreading throughout industry?
Right. The only reason why design thinking relevant today, because there is a lot of innovation drive by the organization. That's all, right? And one thing that design thinking is strength is, I mentioned earlier on, the positive psychology, and then the appreciative inquiry. Another one, a lot of questioning. Right? So the thing is, the next step forward for design thinking is to make sure they maintain, or rather make it more what we call teachable to others. I'm aware about other design thinking outfit out there, or other innovation outfit. There's so many like Lean, a few others. The thing is about innovation, it doesn't happen just like that. You can have the best tool,
right?
However, if your organization is not ready, the management is not open to it, and the leadership is not capable of translating the change in their industry forward, then design thinking will not do much, right? So I went to a client last week, I remember. They say that, I asked them, can you tell me a little bit more about innovation in your company? Oh, innovation is done by our IT, right? It was only last week. And this is one of big bank, one is a big bank. And I say, why do you equate innovation with IT? Oh, they are the one that rather drive our innovation. What about the services? What about the product guy? What about the marketing? What about the operations people? Oh, they don't deal with innovation, right? So this is a serious concern. No? Then of course later when we share about design thinking, they don't understand it.
Okay.
They say, oh no, we don't see a need for this kind of program because innovation is done by our IT. We can try to connect you with the IT, but I think they already have something in place. So the thing is, when we talk to the other client, another bank, they do a lot of innovation program across, for their collection, auditors, operations, finance, branches. They spend a lot of money on that and resources. Try out a few vendors, including us. So I asked them, why did you spend so much on innovation? You are a bank, you are one of the largest. But why do you spend on innovation? They say the innovation that we see today is no longer about product and services. It is about building a business case for change. Very important, right? In other words, innovation that the organization need to see is a case for change. Change of what? The big P, productivity, right? So this is where design thinking, like we do, we always tie it back to change of productivity. That is the outcome that the company wants. It's not the tool. You can have the best tool, like I said, if it doesn't impact productivity, like might as well we use paper and pen or manual, right? Might as well you use, like innovation of those days is the suggestion box, which is always empty,
it's empty.
right? The thing is not about the tool. It is about how does the tool that we use, so happen design thinking like we carry, generate or building a business case for change and impacting productivity. So the very reason normally how we pitch a client is, the reason why you need this because this will help you improve your productivity. In what area? Slower or faster go to market time, cost saving, faster decision making. You handle problems that always a vicious cycle problem.
Yep.
It's always the same problem. You want to attack that. You want to build a better leaders at the above. Now we talk about industry revolution, digital, all this tech stuff. If you are not building leaders of the future fast enough, any one promotion to the management will leave another what you call job title empty. So in any one job up, at every level it has to go up. There's always a spot that is empty. So that empty spot needs to be filled by someone you think more capable or if not equivalent to take over the job. And often in many companies, they don't have that someone, right? So as a result, you need to hire someone outside. That's another change that you need to do, for internal people. So how the design thinking go in other places? I have a friend who came over from France, from Switzerland, Zurich. I asked the same question. They say the same thing. At the end of the day, the company must be able to impact productivity. Whatever tool you use, design thinking or whatever not, if your tool able to generate the productivity, it will always stay relevant. Yes.
Okay. No, that's very insightful.
Thank you.
Now, one of the things that having engaged you on not just in person but also looking at your profile to prepare for this show. One of the things that struck me was that not only you undergone through the program in January, but you also followed up with their training program, and you also had the opportunity to go to Stanford, right? So easily it's just about further improvement,
right?
But can you, can you explain just why you need to maintain that type of momentum? I think you're picking up a new skill every year, aren't you? Right?
Right. Yes.
Yeah. So would you mind describing, okay, what's driving you to keep up this momentum? Is it relevancy? Is it awareness? Or is it, even keeping up pace, I guess?
Right. Thanks, Paul, for scrutinizing my CV. No, actually, Stanford came here to Cyberjaya.
Yeah.
I got an opportunity through my online startup. At one time, the startup was selected to be part of Magic Stanford program. So we were camped at Cyberjaya for 8 days, where I had the great opportunity to engage and hands-on together with the Stanford faculty themselves from Stanford Business School. And there was an interesting, what we call, I personally call moments of my life, because that builds, number one, when you go through this kind of learning, it builds confidence, right? Because at one hand, the first program I went was a good introduction. I still realized that what I'm missing is further information, how else it is being done in other parts of the world. So that second opportunity I got with Stanford, this is where I get to see how design thinking, innovation, startup, the digital being implemented in other countries. Because that program that with Magic at the time, it was also attended by a few people from Singapore, from Thailand, Vietnam, and the Philippines, and Malaysia, a few of us. So I get to see someone doing fintech in Singapore, someone doing on education, scholarship in Singapore, some co-working space in Thailand. All they use design thinking, and of course other tools, right? So the reason why, that's number one. I want more exposure to see an actual case studies, actual projects being done using design thinking, and of course, go to market is always a challenge. To make it sustainable, number one. Number two, profitable is another one. So that program is sort of a continuity, upgrading for myself. Number two, it's always been a trait that I have, or rather I always admire, is to keep learning. I come from a background where I was a dropout as a student because I thought that I don't need a degree. Then I realized that I may not need a degree, but I need a credential somewhere. So of course I went back to degree part-time, and I realized that degree is not enough. I need to learn something new. I need to keep relevant. I need to have an ability to have a conversation with someone in the industry. And my degree will not taught me that. A 10 weeks, 12 weeks course may not be able enough to cover that. I even took an online course on design thinking from Coursera, where I learned about not just design thinking, I learned about interaction design. Design a web page, designing a book, designing a door, and one part of it they talk about design thinking. So that it was a 10 weeks course with a project capstone that I need to submit. And I need to do some calculation, which I don't quite like. But again, I went through because I realized if I want to be useful for my clients, I have to know more than what I thought I knew. Because the clients may expose themselves with a lot of other problems. If I could help them, I'm actually practicing design thinking. Because I want to be the problem solver for my clients. So that's the reason why I keep doing that.
Okay, so on the one hand, it's also, it's not just about upgrading myself to keep the relevance, the relevant skill to date, but as you highlight, to sort of like build the awareness so that you can see where those, those pain points or those opportunities are in your clients.
Right.
Hey, are we asking the right question? Are we identifying where the opportunities are? That's probably part of the process, right?
Definitely, Paul. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
All right. So looking forward, okay, so we've covered where you started, from your professional curiosity to getting your skills to start doing your own working on your own consultancy outfit.
Right.
Where do you see yourself and DT leadership moving forward?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Honestly, I don't have high expectation of myself and the companies, because we sort of take a plunge 5 years ago, right? However, over the course of these 4 or 5 years, we realized that the clients gave us a reason to grow, right? Again, as always, we use in design thinking, we start with a problem. So for the client, it's a problem that they need to keep growing, and they need someone or an outfit, a company, they're able to help them grow at their pace. We sort of now growing with our clients. We had our, now in the month of December, I make a lot of rounds to see clients, and they keep asking, so what do you have for 2019? Other than design thinking, what can you do? Then we ask them back, so what sort of thing that you think you want to solve in your innovation space, especially in building capacity? So one of the few things that we carve out ourselves as a niche today, it's not just about providing the training, design thinking. We help the clients run hackathons, design thinking as a tool. We help them connect with startups. We also help them connect with what we call developers. If they want to build some apps. We also partner with some very, very established technology companies to provide solutions, because we don't provide solutions, right? Let's say like we did a hackathon for one of the airline early last year. They wanted mobile app solutions. We say we don't have the solutions. Can you recommend someone? We are not capable to, because we don't want to simply recommend someone just because we want to fit in, no, or just because we want the business. We don't do that. We are very focused the last 4 years or 5 years to do what we are best at, which is providing training, coaching, and consulting design thinking. However, our client problems now focusing on something else, which is they want to understand more about the ecosystem, building the technology side, connecting with other partners. For example, like the bank says, what if you connect us with someone in the infrastructure industry? They want to do some visits. They want to do some what you call incubation with other companies, with the telcos. So looking forward, nothing short term, the next 1 year to 2 years, we're beginning to offer this kind of so-called programs, hackathon, corporate innovation, connecting them with a certain what we call technologies that could provide solution in like blockchain, mobile app development, big data, and also other professional service that would benefit our clients. So in that space, for next year, we don't be seeing ourselves expanding our team in terms of internal people. We are more looking at partnering, collaborating with serious partners to continue help our clients with new solutions so that they can grow themselves. Currently, we are serving a few industries, the bank especially, the infrastructure, airline, a bit of telco, some manufacturing, and also energy companies. So, these are the industry. The next 10 years is impacted by IoT, mobile, big data, and we want to make sure that we continue able to be the touch points again that help solve our clients' problem. At least, if not all, at least some that we think we could. So that's where we are heading for.
All right.
Right.
So it's not as probably just to put it into a slightly better understanding. So you still have your core product, which is which is training and consulting, but also the expansion is perhaps to assist or facilitate further ideas, further idea generation, especially as they say so much in the past 10 years with the IT that not limited to, but IT has sparked off so much downstream innovation that it affects everything.
Right.
So in a way, helping your clients navigate this innovation landscape.
Right. You can say that. And also there's ideas also the solutions.
Okay.
Solutions, right?
Okay.
Actual products or services that they want. Yes.
Okay. If you don't mind me asking a bit, what are some of the biggest challenges in? I mean, you've already described some that it's a bit of, that some of the challenges is trying to break through into certain habits or certain ideas of how businesses to run should operate, and hence encounter resistance. So, would you mind perhaps stop to story a bit more about other challenges in the vein of trying to educate DT, and perhaps even how to overcome it?
Right. If you're talking about personal challenges, right, one of my personal challenges is to keep myself updated about the happenings of innovation.
Yeah.
So design thinking is just a small dot in this big ocean of innovation. Right? I think let's agree that that is where is design thinking. It's a tool. So one thing I keep finding myself struggling to find extra time to do a lot of reading on the innovation. Again, innovation must impact the productivity, and productivity will impact the economy, right? So that's personal challenges to keep myself abreast. I really want to go to more conferences, to get to learn more, including with my team, so that we could advise our client better in a faster time, a lower cost, and with more value. So that's on personal challenge. And the company challenge, being a local company, there's always a challenge where you try to prove yourself to be in the space where there are other, what you call, more established foreign companies, consulting companies in the market out there. There's always a question of pricing. Or your local company, why should we pay you more than or equivalent of the what you call a foreign company? So if you're a local company, how many people do you have? But the thing is, as a knowledge worker that we live today, the word that I was introduced about 20 years ago, I think popularized by Peter Drucker, that there will come a time, in fact, this is the time where knowledge worker like us is not measured by whether or not we have an office, whether or not we have a general line, a landline phone. It's by ability to share information, share knowledge. So as a company, there's another challenge we face. However, we managed to minimize that, what we call nuances that may be at the back of our client's mind by focusing a niche. We don't do more than these two things. We do only design thinking and leadership development. Sometimes when we have a good relationship with client, they want you to do a lot of things. We will kindly tell them that, look, we only do special in these two things, and if there's any other thing that you need, we could help you connect with someone. However, the discussion is with you and them, not without us, right? And another challenge is to be relevant with what the client needs. As I mentioned just now, the clients realize in some company that we went, the phase of building capacity is almost complete in the next 1 year. The next stage, in their transformation plan or strategy, they want to implement innovation. Like in the banks, I always say bank because in the bank now, the thing called fintech.
Yep. Most
bank, the local bank now, still in the phase of building capacity. Some banks now already starting to in the implementation stage, the solutions, the IoT, the big data. So those are the new things that we need to be able to offer, or at least introduce to our clients to make ourselves relevant. Because after all, while we educate or help our clients with design thinking to be more aware about their customers, we should impose to ourselves the same thinking so that we can stay relevant. If not, while we are still in the innovation space, we want to be the best options for our clients to build their business.
Okay.
Right.
Very good. Very good. Okay. So this is the part, having gone through your story.
Right.
Okay. So this is the part before we close out. I asked Khairul for his idea, the 3 questions that that I typically ask before we close out our show. Okay, and it's basically imparting advice. The segment of imparting advice. So for the person who wants to get into this field, design thinking, or maybe just a person who has an idea, how might you advise them So for a person who is coming into who has the idea to come into the industry, what advice might you have for them?
Right. Okay. First, number one, get yourself basic training on design thinking. You can take it anywhere. You can even take it from us. The thing is that will give you a basic idea. What is the tool all about? So when you want to get yourself enrolled in this program, a little bit of personal advice, Paul, if you don't mind, spend your own money. Don't wait for your company to send you or pay you to attend such program. If you get those, you're very lucky. If you're not, spend your own money. It won't be much, and it definitely worth it. So that's number one. Number two, do some reading. Where there are a lot of information now aggregated online, or get a book. I would definitely recommend a book by David Kelly on particularly design thinking called Creative Confidence. It's really a good book. So get yourself trained and do some reading with your own money.
Okay.
There's the additional part.
Okay. The next question, which you partially answered, is, so we've covered the person who has the idea, and they are going to want to develop their skill.
Right.
So for the person who is now trying to develop their skills in design thinking, maybe it's for personal or as a professional, what advice might you have for them?
Right. I would advise definitely the same thing. Get training, read. I will add another one, network. Yeah, you got to network with people. You can reach out to a lot of people now. If you search design thinking on LinkedIn particularly, you definitely get connected to a lot more people, particularly people in Europe. They are very advanced. The people I've met from Europe here, then they came over. Some of them are book authors. I did ask them how's design thinking developing in Europe. They say that they are 10 years ahead from what we have today, right, in Malaysia or in Asia, right? And talking about Asia, design thinking in Asia, there's still a lot of room to grow. No, I've been to Indonesia, I've been to Thailand to gauge the level of design thinking. It's still nascent. It's still nascent, right? In fact, when I went to Jakarta 2 years ago, we talked to some banks. They said they never heard of design thinking, right? That was 2 years ago, and now there's already a localized content of design thinking. I was informed, and that's the good news, right? I really hope this video travel beyond Malaysia, so that those people out there who are more interested, they could get themselves ready to do training, reading, networking, and repeat for the next at least 6 months to 1 year. Because at the end of the day, design thinking is not just about knowing it. It's about doing it. It's about thinking while doing. And you can't master skills without without doing it. So that's why I add on that part.
Okay. Very good. Now the last one of this set of questions is for the person who they've turned their idea into skills, and now from skills into vocation or work, or you could call or profession. So for those who are trying to are now ready to enter the industry, but they're new. So what advice might you have for them?
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I personally think for me, design thinking is a vocation where it answers my why. So for those people, you got to know why you're doing it. What is your why? For me and my team, our why is we want to be the touch point, right? The touch point is not the end of means. The touch point is the means to something, right? So what is your why? Why are you doing it? Whether it's very personal or whether it's for a professional, you must have very strong why. Only when you have such a why, or big why, the people that you serve, or sometimes you call them clients or customers or friends, will be able to feel that impact, right? And in the innovation space, again, that why will help your client to achieve that change and impact their productivity. And that is the purpose of innovation, right? The purpose of innovation, or the function of innovation, is to solve problems, right? And that problem must impact productivity. So for those who are new, find your why. If you don't know your why, start, because the moment you do the first step I shared just now, you read, you train, you network, repeat. You do it for the next maybe 6 months or 1 year, even while you are working. You definitely know your why. Get to know your why. And then it's a matter of scale it. Even like for you, Paul, I know you for some years now. I'm sure you have a big why for you to do what you're doing right now.
Yeah, I have.
Right?
Yeah.
And that why didn't come just like that. No? It could be just a blip, something somewhere that you started to realize you have to answer a calling. Right? So that would be my advice. Get that why. Right.
Well, my why will be in another video.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So that's my 3 questions. And just before we close out, before the thank you is, having said all this, first, thank you very much.
Welcome.
And also, do you have any last words? It could be promoting yourself, or advice, or something else you want to share. Do you have or even a shameless plug? I give this to you.
All right. Well, I would like to highlight 2 things. Number 1, as a design thinking practitioner, our role is to keep nudging our clients to do better, to make change, to keep improving their productivity. Whether you are a 50-year-old manager, whether you are CEO, management, whether you are a young Gucci executive, you must remember, right? Being a leader is not about a big title, right? It's about being able to innovate, being able to solve problems. So that would be my first advice. Keep solving problems, right? It doesn't have to be a big problem. It could be a simple problem. I recommend you to Google design thinking case study. You see a lot of problems you never thought could be solved, right? That's number 1. Number 2, very simple. Keep better your best, right? Always learning better your best. That's all. Thank you, Paul.
Okay. So, thank you, Khairul.
You're welcome.
Okay. So with that, we close out the show. You've been watching another episode of Plusma-cast, and again, with my friend Khairul Anwar, who is a design thinker and professional consultant in that field.
Right.
So if anybody wants to know more, you could either Google, but I hope you especially Google DT leadership and Khairuls, so that, or if you want to get in touch with him, the description is in the email is in the description, and also visit his website to know more.
Yes.
So thank you very much, Khairul.
Welcome.
So,
thanks so much, Paul.
Thanks so much.
Always good to see comrades back.
Yep. All right. And with that, thank you very much for watching Plusma-cast.